20 years ago, if I had known that I was going to be teaching and talking about homeschooling to thousands of people, I would have probably taken more pictures, taken better notes. But then again, being a minimalist, I know I would not have held on to those notes. So it is what it is. So this is going to be more of a description as to how it is that I organized my life overall and how I went about organizing the days throughout my homeschool years. And if this somehow happens to be the very first video of mine that you are ever seeing, and you do not like my opinions or you do not like my tone, just know that I already graduated my children out from our homeschool 10 years ago, so it's just too late at this point for me to change anything about the past. I just can't do it. So that you also know where I'm coming from, because who we are is going to affect how we do things. A little bit about me is that I am extremely organized, but I am not detail oriented at all. I do not like exacting little details about anything, and honestly, I couldn't care less. Therefore, I just like a basic pattern and structure, and then I fill in the blanks day to day. When I was younger, before I really knew myself, I used to buy planners like every few months, and I used to even try like meal planning. I used to create my own planners, but none of it ever stuck. None of it ever worked for me. I have never finished a planner, and I am finally at the age where I can accept this about myself. So first and foremost, write down what your values and what your top priorities are in the order of their importance. And then you just do those every single day, and you rinse and repeat. And so these are just some of the tips and tricks that I have that will maybe help you. Number one, keep your own schedule minimal. Keep your own schedule minimal. That is because if you are the one who is choosing to educate your children at home, their education and their well-being has to be your top priority. It must get done before all else. So think twice, and then think a third time before adding anything to your schedule or committing to activities that have nothing to do with homeschooling. Do not stretch yourself thin. Do not commit to things that are going to take away too much time from your kids and your work at home. If you choose to homeschool, they deserve the best of your energy and the best of what resources you have for them. But you are also a human being. You're going to get tired, and so you have to figure out when you are tired so you can manage it so that you're not too tired to homeschool, since this is what you are choosing to do. I remember when I first started thinking about homeschooling, I brought it up to my small group at the church we attended at the time, and the pastor's wife yelled out, like, "Don't do it." She's like, "I knew this one homeschool mom, and she could never come out to anything and always had to leave Bible study early." And you know what? She's absolutely correct. If you are the parent choosing to homeschool your kids, their schedule comes first. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. You are taking on the roles of several people. So you are going to be busy. And that's the reality of it, no matter how anybody may make it look or what they make it sound like. And so you have to ask yourself, is homeschooling what I want to do? Am I willing to put in all of the time and effort that it needs? Now, it is true that as a homeschool parent, you are also going to need camaraderie and peer support. And so I suggest that you find that within the homeschool groups, which you probably will. You need to develop working friendships with the mothers of your children's friends. And this is no different than people in the workforce who network with colleagues so that they can help each other out. You have to do that too. Number two, set out a schedule for the majority of your days and just follow it. Mine was get up, personal hygiene, breakfast, Bible, and then we had discussions and overview about what they were going to do next. Then they would get to their independent work. They usually had a little time for independent work. And I say independent work, but I was always still there for any questions and any help. Then we had lunch, then maybe a little bit more work, and then we always had activities. Usually like one day a week. The only morning that we would not be able to do this would be when we had co-ops. Co-op was an all-day activity because after co-op, we always did something with their friends. And all of our other activities and things like sports, they were usually in the afternoon. But anything else that could disrupt a morning would be like a doctor's appointment, like orthodontist. Like we had a fantastic orthodontist that we started with when we lived in South Jersey. So then when we ended up moving back to the Philly suburbs, we just drove back every single month to keep working with her. Every single month for 10 years. And so that would take up a whole morning because it was a long drive. But then when we got home, we would have activities, or they would always still just get a little bit of work done. But it is here at this point where I will add that this was one of the areas where, looking back, I always felt behind. I always felt like we were losing, time, every appointment, every play date, every obligation, like we were just not keeping up. But now I know we were doing more than enough, and I wish I just relaxed a little bit. Number 3, list out the subjects in terms of importance, starting out with what must get done daily and regularly versus things that can be done less frequently, maybe once a week. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those 3 every day. These were the absolutes, and we would continue these through the summer also. Much lighter, only a couple times a week, but nonetheless, we could continue it. Now, I'm also going to share with you here how I used to plan out our work. I even dug out one of the textbooks that my one son wanted me to save for him. I would section out the textbooks using Post-it notes, and I would put the dates on them. And then I would talk to my kids about what needed to get done by when, like October 31st, get to here. This is so that they could have some control over the speed which they would go through the work. You still have to monitor. I am not talking about just like handing over a book and then saying, you deal with it, get it done, because that is wrong, okay? So this is how I would schedule out the books so that my kids could see how much they had to get done by when. So in this book, there is 114 lessons. So that means that by December, they had to get to lesson 55. In Saxon math, there are only 120 lessons each year. And so by December 31st, they just had to get to lesson 60. So for 4 months, from September 1st to December 31st, they would only have 15 lessons a month. Like, honestly, that's half the month. That's nothing. This is why I had to use 2 math curriculums during the elementary years, because we just needed more work. And so in case you think that, you could do 2 curriculum because because there was just not enough schoolwork, because as homeschoolers, it's not as strong or not as robust, because I know as homeschoolers, we always feel like we're behind, but that is just not true. Here in the US, just about every state, the compulsory number of days is 180 days per school year, and half days count. This is why homeschooling is so efficient, because when I was in public school, I do not ever remember finishing an entire textbook. And when we had half days, we all knew that we were just going just to be there. I mean, no teaching was done. We didn't do anything in class. With homeschooling, not only did we finish our textbooks, but we usually needed more work. I don't know how long ago, but there was a pretty comprehensive study done that showed that for a disciplined student, that a US high school education, it can be completed in 2 years, maybe 3. Now, after having homeschooled high school, I would completely agree with this. It's actually quite shocking how much you can get done. There is a lot of wasted time in public school. And then I would just keep all of their workbooks and textbooks and assignments and everything. Like each kid had their own plastic bucket, and I would just fill it up with all of their books and everything like that. And they just knew that they just had to get through these books. They would finish an assignment, put it on my desk, I would grade it and get it back to them. So then the last bits of advice, okay? You have to plan for disruptions. We moved over a dozen times while we were homeschooling. Never for a bad reason. It was always for like a better job or more space or different location or just whatever reason. We moved a lot. It wasn't planned, but it happened. And so I am fully aware of disruptions. Not to mention that with homeschooling, I also said yes to just about 90% of the activities that my kids wanted to do. I mean, there were years where I was a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, but I used to put on 15,000 miles per year on my car. And so you have to plan for things to come up. Number 2, make it easier on yourself by just using a high-quality, well-written, established curriculum meant for homeschoolers. As parents, I do not think we need to reinvent the wheel, nor do we need to just try every bit of curriculum that's come out. Just pick something that's been used for decades, and I trust that they are going to make sure that the subject is taught thoroughly. Number 3, once the child can read well, start teaching them and start working with them to read the books well and to understand and how to follow directions. This is going to pay off in every single way, and it has to be done if you want your child to be a self-motivated learner. This is also going to help them to develop an internal locus of control. That means that if they don't understand something, they can slow it down a bit. If it's easy, they can speed it up. This is going to give them a sense of control and also help develop their confidence. Even though autonomy and motivation is one of the goals with homeschooling, discussion, grading, monitoring, these are areas that no homeschool parent should ever relinquish, especially with the grading and ensuring that they are doing their work. You should never be outsourcing that, nor should you be expecting your child to do it. And honestly, it is not your child's responsibility for things like grading their own work. Because not only do children, just like anybody else, need accountability, one of your many jobs is to make school and the process of learning as frictionless as possible for your child. As they are learning, you have to be there to organize things, grade their materials, get it back to them, let them know what has to get done, just like a teacher. Even if they're taking outside classes at a co-op or somewhere else, in the end, as the homeschool parent, you are still completely responsible to make sure that your kids are getting an excellent education. And so like when your kid is struggling with a subject or a concept, you have to go find them help, or you got to figure it out. You have to teach them that. So that's how my days went. If any other homeschool mom has any wonderful advice or suggestions about how to organize and schedule out your days, let us know in the comments. Until next time.